I'm not even entirely sure how I'm going to do this today. I feel like the only appropriate name for this video is going to be like the most unhinged book haul you will ever watch. We're gonna do it though. We're gonna figure it out. I don't even know, how am I gonna do this? This is gonna be crazy. I can't. Hey guys, we are back with another one, and like I said, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do this video because I am going to attempt to show you over 325 books. Now listen. We are a judgment-free zone here on this channel. And am I in any way suggesting that you should go out and buy 300 books today? I'm really not. And by the way, am I also saying that I purchased with money 300 books today? I'm not. And I will explain that later. I purchased some, I got some for free, etc., etc. We will go over each category as we go, but you are about to watch a book haul with over 300 books in it. So, wasting no time, let's get started with the physical books that I purchased in the last, 3 months-ish? I'm also going to let you know that we are going to try to spend like 15 seconds or less on most of these books, because if we don't, we will be here for the next 7.5 years, okay? So really quick, really fast. All the books will be obviously on wherever you purchase your books, Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Waterstones. So if something intrigues you, pause this video, screenshot this, comment below. I can send you a link and you can read the full synopsis wherever it is that you buy your books. So starting off strong, I got Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter. This is a mystery murder thriller. And from what I understand, this is about a murder that took place in 2003 of our main character, Luke Ryder's stepfather, who I believe was a filmmaker, and the murder is never solved. Fast forward to 20 years later, so 2023, when some true crime program documentary series is going to pick up this story and attempt to solve it by re-interviewing the family members. So it goes from there. Next up, I picked up Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. I say Monaghan. I've heard from some people you don't pronounce the G. Is it Monaghan? I'm not sure, but Annabelle Monaghan. This is by the same author as Nora Goes Off Script, and I forget what the second one was called. But she does cute, I'm pretty sure, like clean romances. And this says, benefits of a summer romance. It's always fun, always brief, and no one gets their heart broken. So this follows our main female character, Allie Morris, who's a professional organizer, but her own life is a mess. I believe she goes back to a place that she used to live and sees a man that she used to date, and the summer romance takes off from there. Next up is probably one of the coolest packaged books I picked up. This is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose, and this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, and it's supposed to look like an old school like videotape case, which is just really cool. I don't know if you could see that, but it looks like a video. I don't know anything about this. It says most home movies show happy family memories, but this one reveals a deadly secret. Oh boy, if I don't destroy this box trying to get this back in. Okay. It says, after their mother passes, 3 estranged siblings reunite to sort out her estate. While going through their parents' belongings, the siblings stumble upon a collection of home videos and decide to revisit their happier memories. However, the nostalgia is cut short when one of the VHS tapes reveals a night back in 1999 that none of them have any recollection on. On screen, their father appears covered in blood. What follows is a dead body and a pact between their parents to get rid of it before the video abruptly ends. That's crazy. Next up, I grabbed Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This is the published, it was picked up by Dell. It was picked up by Dell Publishing and republished. So I have the indie when it was on the Kindle. I bought it, but I loved this cover. So cute. It says, a hot one-night stand and an unexpected pregnancy lead a young woman to someone she can depend on, from the viral TikTok author of Next in Kin and Next to You. So there you go. Next up is an author I've been really wanting to read, and it's Homecoming by Kate Morton. I believe this is about let's see, Adelaide Hills, Christmas Eve, 1959. Yeah, so it sounds like on Christmas Eve of 1959, a groundskeeper at a country house makes a terrible discovery. It's kind of vague. And then many years later, Jess is a journalist in search of a story, and she goes to this house. She discovers a true crime book chronicling a long-buried police case, which is this Turner family tragedy of 1959, and it sounds like she's going to try to go and solve it. Next up, you know I had to. I grabbed Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Have I ever read? Oh wait, I did read an Ali Hazelwood. I read Bride. But have I read anything in her more like romance feminist series? No. Own them all. Have to continue the collection. But I believe this is said to be like her smuttier book of her feminist series. And it says, a forbidden secret affair proves that all's fair in love and science. Next up, I grab How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly. This is the Infatuated Fae book 1. And Janine O'Reilly was actually nice enough to send me the second book, which I forget what it's called. How did it change you? Am I making that up? I don't remember. But she sent me the second one. I haven't read the first one yet, so I definitely want to pick up both, because even when I get sent an ARC, I love to grab the physical copy just to support the author for being so kind. And it says, a forbidden obsession, unyielding family allegiance, 3 deadly challenges. When a trip into a forest to collect a rare mushroom for her research goes horribly wrong, biologist Callie Peterson finds herself falling through a fairy portal and straight into the arms of the unseelie Fae prince, the dangerously unhinged and viciously handsome unseelie Fae prince. He thinks she's an assassin sent by the humans to kill him, not a scientist, and he imprisons her in his realm, where unwittingly, his obsession with her begins to grow. That sounds so good. Like I said in my last haul, Barnes & Noble and these publishing companies are really starting to step up their game with these like special edition first print editions, because this book is gorgeous, and that is The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. This is just the first edition with these beautiful sprayed edges. It is a stunning book. Look at the art on the inside. How beautiful is this edition with the printed hardcover, digitally printed hardcover? Gorgeous. However, I have heard some mixed feelings about this here little book, and I have no idea what it's about, but it says, can you love the dark when you know what it hides? 13 years ago, monsters emerged from the shadows and plunged Kiersey's world into a cataclysmic war of a near total destruction. The New York City she knew so well collapsed practically overnight. In the wake of that carnage, the monster treaty was created, a truce of sorts. But tonight, Kiersey, a gifted and fearless thief, will break that treaty. She'll enter the Holly Library, not knowing it's the home of a monster. He's charming, quietly alluring, terrifying, but he knows talent when he sees it. It's just a matter of finding her price. Now she's locked into a dangerous bargain with a creature unlike any other. She'll sacrifice her freedom. She'll offer her skills. Together, they'll put their own futures at risk. But he's been playing a game across centuries, and once she joins in, there will be no escape. That is not at all what I thought this was going to be like, and it sounds excellent. So I'm hoping that I'm one of the people that love this. Next up, I picked up Summer Fridays by Suzanne Rendell. This says, summer 1999, 20-something Sawyer is striving to make it in New York. Between her assistant job in publishing, her secret dream of becoming a writer, and her upcoming wedding to her college boyfriend, her plate is full. Only one problem. She is facing an incredibly lonely summer as her fiancé has been spending longer and longer hours at work with an all too close female colleague, Kendra. When Kendra's boyfriend Nick emails to invite Sawyer to meet up and compare notes about their suspicions, Sawyer's lonely summer takes an unexpected turn. Not good, Summer. Sawyer? Sawyer. Not good, Sawyer. That doesn't sound excellent. That sounds like trouble. I also grabbed the first 2 books in the Ruinous Love trilogy, which are Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark. I haven't read either, but I've been hearing really great things about these books. And I think the gist of this duology, but going to be trilogy, the 3rd book isn't out yet, is that they are 2 serial killers who meet every year, I think to kill someone, but I think it has like a Dexter vibe where they only kill bad people, I'm pretty sure. So they're serial killers who take out other bad people, and then I think they fall in love. I don't know, serial killer love story, sign me up. I also picked up Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in her, Gold Rush Ranch? Is this Gold Rush Ranch, I think? Yes, Gold Rush Ranch. This is the first book in her Gold Rush Ranch series. I think Off to the Races is the first and A Photo Finish is the second. And I think it did just release maybe today. I'm not sure, but it says he's never had a problem keeping things professional with his employees until she waltzed onto his property. It says Vaughn Harding heads from the city to small town Ruby Creek, intent on revitalizing his family's ranch and the scandal attached to its name in the wake of his grandfather's unexpected passing. Billy is talented, whip-smart, and sassy, and so damn tempting. She and Vaughn clash from the moment they meet, but he can't stop thinking about her. With every smart-mouth comment, every game they play, Vaughn ends up wanting more. But at what cost? Because for the first time, he doesn't just want to win races, he wants to win the girl. Little cowboy romance. Next up, I grabbed The Paradise Problem by Mrs. Christina and Mrs. Lauren. They are best friends that write books together, and this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. This says, a delicious new romance between the buttoned-up heir of a grocery chain and a free-spirited artist as they fake their relationship in order to receive a massive inheritance. The next book is the book in this haul that I might be the most excited about. I'm so anticipating this book because I have yet to hear one single bad thing about it, and that is Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is kind of longer than I thought it was going to be, but it is beautifully floppy. I believe this is like a historical romance, I believe, something like that. It says, in the perilous days of World Wars I and II, the gods held the fates and the hearts of 4 mortals in their hands. That's right. There is a Greek mythology element to this, I believe. So there is a little fantasy thrown in there, which only excites me more. It says, Hazel, James, Aubrey, and Colette, a classical pianist from London, a British would-be architect turned soldier, a Harlem-born ragtime genius in the U.S. Army, and a Belgian orphan with a gorgeous voice and a devastating past. Their story, as told by the goddess Aphrodite, who must spin the tale or face judgment on Mount Olympus, is filled with hope and heartbreak, prejudice and passion, and reveals that though war is a formidable force, it's no match for the transcendent power of love. I am so confused about how World Wars I and II, 4 people between Harlem and London and the Greek goddess Aphrodite is going to tie together, but that sounds so good. The next book I'm having serious deja vu about, and I feel like I either mentioned it in one of my TBR challenge videos, or this was in my last haul and I'm just forgetting. I don't know. So if it was, disregard. But that is 5 Broken Blades by May Corland. And this is another gorgeous first print edition with the beautiful sprayed edges, the character artwork on the inside. Let the Best Liar Win. Another book I'm seeing kind of mixed reviews about, but it says it's the season for treason. The king of Yusan must die. The 5 most dangerous liars in the land have been mysteriously summoned to work together for a single objective, to kill the god king June. And now each of the 5 will come for him. Each has tasted bitterness, from the hired hitman seeking atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, or even the prince banished for his cruel crimes. None can resist the sweet, icy lure of vengeance. But for these 5 killers, each versed in deception, lies, and betrayal, it's not enough to forge an alliance. Let the best liar win. Interesting. Another beautiful edition, I have Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolf, and this has the gorgeous sprayed edges as well. Beautiful artwork on the inside. Beautiful foiled naked cover. I know. I think that the theme of these videos is I know nothing about the books I buy. It says, bravery isn't what you do, it's what you endure. The Duke of the powerful House Haute Claire is the first to die, with my dagger in his back. He didn't see it coming, didn't anticipate the bastard daughter who was supposed to die with her mother on his order. He should have left us with the rest of the station's starving commoner rubbish. Now there's nothing left, just icy white rage and a need to make House Haute Claire pay, every damn one of them. Even if it means riding Heavenbreaker, one of the few enormous machines left over from the war, and jousting against the fiercest nobles in the system. A machine that she's going to ride? I don't think I've ever read anything like that. Next up, I grabbed 12th Night by Alexine Farrell Falmouth. This is the pen name of Olive E. Blake, I believe. I reverse that. Olive E. Blake is her pen name, and I believe Alexine Farrell Falmouth is her real name. And this is a YA, let's see, is it fantasy? Viola Reyes is annoyed. Her painstakingly crafted tabletop game campaign was shot down. Her best friend is suggesting she try being more likable, and her school's star running back, Jack Orsino, is the most lackadaisical student body president she's ever seen, which makes her job as VP that much harder. Vi's favorite escape from the world is the MMORPG. Is that like LARPing? I don't know. Is that a RPG, a role-playing game? Right? Yeah. 12th Night, but online spaces aren't exactly kind to girls like her, girls who are extremely competent and have the swagger to prove it. So Vi creates a masculine alter ego, choosing to play as a knight named Cesario to create a safe haven for herself. But when a football injury leads Jack Orsino to the world of 12th Night, Vi is alarmed to discover their online alter egos, Cesario and Duke Orsino, are surprisingly well matched. That sounds really funny. Lying, she's like catfishing this guy on a video game. That sounds cute. The next book I've never heard anybody talking about, I've never heard anything about, but I saw this on the table and this was 100% a cover / sprayed edges purchase because I just think it is so cool. And that is Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It's a paperback, but look at how cool this book is. I just thought this was so neat. And it says, it's bad enough waking up in a half-destroyed evil wizard. It's bad enough waking up in a half-destroyed evil wizard's workshop with no eyebrows, no memories, and no idea how long you have before the dread lord whomever shows up to murder you horribly and then turn your skull into a goblet or something. It's a lot worse when you realize that dread lord whomever is you. Gav isn't really sure how he ended up with a castle full of goblins or why he has a princess locked in a cell. All he can do is play along with his own evil plan in hopes of getting his memories back before he gets himself killed. But as he realizes that nothing from the incredible tasteless cloak adorned with flames to the princess is quite what it seems, Gav must face up to all the things the dread Lord Gavrax has done. Lord Gavrax. Oh my god. And he'll have to answer the hardest question of all, who does he want to be? So he's the villain, which sounds really funny. Next up, I picked up a novel love story by Ashley Poston. This is the same author as The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip. Once again, hearing some mixed things about this. So if you've read this, I know a lot of people have because she's a beloved author. Comment below what you thought. No spoilers, guys, because I haven't read anything by her. But comment below if you thought this was up to snuff with her other books, because I have seen like a 50-50 split on this one. So this says, love is stranger than fiction. Eileen Elsie Merriweather loves to get lost in a good happily ever after, the fictional kind anyway, because at least imaginary men don't leave you at the altar. I don't know what my dog is freaking out about. I just went upstairs, checked everything. No one's here. He's just old and crazy. Anyways, it says, because at least imaginary men don't leave you at the altar. She feels safe in stories, at home in books, which might be why she's so set on going to her book club's annual retreat this year. She needs good friends, cheap wine, and grand romantic gestures, no matter what. When her car unexpectedly breaks down on the way, she finds herself stranded in a quaint town that seems like it's right out of a novel. I think the gist is she gets basically stuck in a romantic comedy novel somehow, like in an alternate world. I don't know, but we will see what I think. This next book, I've seen a lot of my favorite influencers reading on the beach this week, and it's making me so jealous because I kind of want to go read on the beach, so that might have to happen. And that is The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. It says a recently deceased woman meets the one in the afterlife waiting room, scoring a second chance at life and love if she can find him on Earth before 10 days are up. I don't want to know anything more about it. So the next two books I did purchase a little bit ago. I've had them on my Kindle, but I have the physical copies now. And those are Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. I know this book is about a girl who, as the name implies, was born or somehow only has half of a soul, and that makes it really hard for her to interpret other people's emotions or to feel embarrassment or shame. And then this book, what is this, about 10,000 Stitches? Says, Regency housemaid Euphemia Reeves has acquired a fairy godfather. Unfortunately, he has no idea what he's doing. Effie has most inconveniently fallen in love with the dashing Mr. Benedict Ashbrook. There's only one problem. Effie is a housemaid, and a housemaid cannot marry a gentleman. It seems that Effie is out of luck until she stumbles into the fairy realm of Lord Blackthorn, who is only too eager to help her win Mr. Ashbrook's heart. All he asks in return is that Effie sew 10,000 stitches into his favorite jacket. I think these sound very whimsical and very cute. Now we are going to go into our special edition book box section of our haul because I have received or purchased so many special editions. It's not even funny. So we're going to do this really briefly, just show you the beautiful art. However, if you do not want to be spoiled for what's been in the most recent book boxes, or if you don't want to see the special editions for whatever reason, some people like to keep them a surprise, go ahead and skip. right here, and you will skip this entire section. First up, we have Cross the Line by Simone Saltani. This is from Afterlight, which is owned by Illumicrate, and it looks like it's an F1 book. There's a cute little F1 racing on the back, and it has, oh my god, it's so pretty, this gorgeous digital hardcover with, it looks like a bunch of Instagram posts on the inside, and it says, "Whatever you want, Jonu," Dev says when he pulls back, "nothing but love in his eyes. I'll give it all to you." Formula One driver Dev Anderson's career is on the line after a social media disaster leaves him with an angry team and sponsors threaten to jump ship. He needs someone to help save his image. At a party in Monaco, he bumps into a woman who can fix it all. There's just one problem. She's his best friend's little sister. I like it already. F1, best friend's little sister, fix my reputation. I could get into that. I actually already showed this one in my TBR video because this was randomly selected. I think it was pick the most the most recent Afterlight book or something like that, and at the time this was it. So I've already given a synopsis, so I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but I did also receive One Last Shot by Betty Cayette, I believe is how you say it, from Afterlight. This is a Italian Riviera photographer story, and it is a really beautiful edition. Very Italy vibes. Next up, we have Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. This is the Illumicrate edition. It has beautiful lotus sprayed edges. Oh my gosh, this is really beautiful artwork. I've never heard of this author before, and I've never read anything by them, but this edition is beautiful. I'm digging like the blue and the pink and the green. This says, "A mother and a son, a goddess and a prince, a curse and an oath, a river whose course will change the fate of the world." Beautiful. Next up is a special edition I purchased. This did not come in a monthly box. This was a special edition I pre-ordered months ago, and it finally came in. That is A Letter to the Luminous Deep by Sylvie Cathrall. This is, I think, kind of sort of like an underwater mermaid story, and look at how beautiful. This just gives me like Little Mermaid Ariel's grotto vibes. It says, "My dear E, I have thought of nothing else but you and your letter over the past day or so, and I do not intend to start thinking of anything else anytime soon." A beautiful discovery outside the window of her underwater home prompts the reclusive E to begin a correspondence with renowned scholar Henry Clell. The letters they share are filled with passion, at first for their mutual interests and then inevitably for each other. Together they uncover a mystery from the unknown depths, destined to transform the underwater world they both equally fear and love. But by no mere coincidence, a sea quake destroys E's home and she and Henry vanish. A year later, E's sister Sophie and Henry's brother Vieran are left to solve the mystery of their siblings' disappearances with the letters, sketches, and field notes they left behind. Excellent. Next up, I have The God and the Gumiho by Sophie Kim. This is the Fairy Loot exclusive. And from what I understand, a Gumiho, I believe, is a fox shifter, if I'm correct. Comment below if I'm not. I love that. Oh yeah, look at the little fox. I believe it's someone, oh my god, this is so cute. It's a coffee and it says The Creature Cafe with a fox. And the beautiful artwork on the reverse dust jacket. I believe a Gumiho is someone who can shift into a fox. It says, he's a fallen god, she's a shape-shifting fox. I was right. They'll do anything to outsmart each other, anything except fall in love. When a demon of darkness escapes the underworld and the Scarlet Fox emerges from hiding before quickly vanishing, Sukka is offered a chance at redemption. Kill them both and his sins will be forgiven, but Hani is prepared to do anything to prevent Sukka from bringing her to justice. Anything that is, except fall in love. Okay, this next book is a book that I ordered literally like, what, 9 months ago? Something like that. In fact, when it came in, I kind of forgot that I ordered it. When I opened it up, it's from Midnight Whispers, which I very rarely order from them. They're a much smaller book box. Do they do a monthly box? I think they might. But I just ordered this as like a separate, like a single book, and I forgot. But this is A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Holly. This is the special edition version of it. It has the gorgeous kind of dark art, and it's kind of hard to see, but the gorgeous teal foiling. And it says, you belong to me, body and soul, heart and spirit, monster, siren, princess, and pirate. And I think that's kind of what attracted me to it. It's like a pirate, like sea monster story. Next up is the Fairy Loot YA book, and that is The Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. It says, he was an Imperial, her greatest threat and greatest fascination, everything she'd been warned against, and yet she wanted him still. This is kind of plain to me. I mean, it's beautiful, but when you compare it to some of the detail on the other books, this just feels a little generic to me, but what do I know? That's very pretty. Oh my gosh. That picture is a lot, but that's very pretty. And the naked hardcover is very pretty. But like I said, that's a kind of an intense picture for YA. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it says, as an Imperial, Nicole has the ability to kill any deadly supernatural, but if her power ever awakened the Wake, the organization that governs supernaturals would force her to be their loyal huntress or kill her, like they did her mother. To stay safe, Nicole hides in a small university town, convinced the mythological art collection at a local manor contains a final message from her mother. But before she can study it, Kyan McCarter, the Wake's most skilled Imperial, arrives on his own hunt. When Nicole and Kyan discover that Kyan's prey has stolen a painting for leverage, they're forced to work together. After a life of hiding her true nature, who could resist the temptation of magic? It's a luxurious, forbidden romance that will become your new obsession. That sounds really good, and there's that academia vibe, which I love. Next up, I have last month's box from Page & Wick, and as I said in my last haul, Page & Wick is a new subscription box that sends you a special edition book and a specially curated candle that goes along with it. So this month's it's bi-monthly. So this bi-monthly box was House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. This is now like the third or fourth version of this book that I have. I am now inadvertently collecting this book, and I have not read anything by her, but House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. This is about a kingdom with shape-shifting crows, and that's really all I know about it. But the curated candle is called Kingdom in the Sky on the Beat of a Wing. It has a really pretty crow on it, and it smells, ooh, very fresh and very breezy, kind of like crows flying in the sky. So very cool. I guess I should have done a better job of actually showing the book, but I got distracted. So this is the special edition with the beautiful crows on the sprayed edges. It's actually very pretty. And then on the inside, oh my God, it's so beautiful. This is the artwork and the naked hardcover. It says, oh, it's not in English. Interesting. That you, little bird, belong to the sky. Interesting. Next up is another book I'm just going to briefly show you because I did also order this several months ago. Kind of forgot about it until it came in. And that is the Fairy Loot special edition of Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the second book. I don't know what the actual series is called, but the first one is One Dark Window. I don't even know if it has a series name, but this is the special matching edition with just kind of plain mauve sprayed edges, some character artwork, and the kind of gothic black digitally printed hardcover. Next up, we have Of Jade and Dragons by Amber Chen. This is the Illumicrate edition. It has a really cool dragon sprayed edges. I don't know if you can see that. What a beautiful edition. It says, to seek revenge, she needs to stay alive. Oh my gosh. It is a digitally printed hardcover. How beautiful is that? Some character artwork on the inside. Gorgeous. And it says 18-year-old Ahui, how do you pronounce her name? Ahui Ying dreams of becoming a world-class engineer like her father, but after his suspected murder, a heartbroken Ying is determined to discover why anyone would threaten a man who ultimately chose a quiet life over fame and fortune. Left with only a journal of her father's engineering secrets and a jade pendant snatched from the assassin, Ying follows the trail to the capital and the prestigious Engineers Guild, a place that harbors her father's hidden past. Disguised as her brother, Ying manages to infiltrate the male-only apprenticeship trial with the help of an unlikely ally, the nation's taciturn 8th prince. The secrets hidden within the guild can be as deadly as the weapons they build, and with her life and the country's future at stake, Ying doesn't know who to trust, and can she avenge her father if it means going against everything he stood for? Next up, I grabbed a special edition of The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. I don't actually know. I think this might be Fairy Loot Fairy Lou. I just thought the colors on this book were absolutely stunning, and it's actually kind of small, so it seems like it could be a really quick read. How beautiful is that? It was the colors on this book, guys. It's just stunning. I know nothing about it, but I saw it and I was like, these colors are calling to me. It says, deadly storms and ancient curse, will her sacrifice save them all? Beautiful. Next up, I have the Owl Crate YA book, which is The Song of Six Realms by Judy I. Lin. It says, inside every living soul, there exists a spark. Very like muted neutral tones. And this is what the naked hardcover, Twilight's Begonia. Oh my gosh, the reverse hardcover has a totally different vibe to it, like very colorful. And here is the inside cover art. And it says, Sue, a talented young musician, has no past and probably no future. Orphaned at a young age, she was taken in by her kindly poet uncle, who arranged for an apprenticeship at one of the most esteemed entertainment houses in the kingdom. She doesn't remember much from before entering the House of Flowering Water, but when her uncle is suddenly killed in a bandit attack, she is devastated to lose her last connection to a life outside of her indenture contract. With no family and no patrons, Sue is facing the possibility of a lifetime of servitude, playing the kin for nobles that praise her talent, with one breath and sneer at her lowly social status with the next. Then one night she is unexpectedly called to the garden to put on a private performance for the enigmatic Duke Meng, but for a young man of nobility, he is strangely kind and awkward and surprises Sue further with an irresistible offer: serve as a musician in residence at his manor for just 3 years and he'll set her free of her indenture. Is there a little romance vibe going on here? I think so. This next book is yet another one of my most anticipated reads because I am obsessed with this author, and that is The Darkness Within Us by Trisha Levenseller. I have talked endlessly about how much I love The Shadows Between Us and how much it surprised me and how much I loved her writing in that book. And this is the second book that she came out with after that one. She writes a ton of books, but since that one, this is the, what is this? Fairy Lou. This is the Fairy Lou edition. And I was so excited when I found out that I was going to be getting this because I love Trisha Levenseller. Beautiful character art. And look at how pretty this naked hardcover is. The purple with the black. Oh my gosh. Look at the reverse. Let me just take this off. Look at the reverse hardcover. This is just such a vibe. I am so into it just based on this artwork alone. It says, Chrysantha Stathos has won. By hiding her intelligence and ambition behind the mask of a beautiful airheaded girl, she has become a wealthy duchess, and once her elderly husband dies, she will have all the freedom and money she's ever wanted, or so she thought. A man claiming to be her husband's estranged grandson has turned up to steal her inheritance, and to make matters worse, her little sister Alessandra is about to become queen, so Chrysantha resolves to upstage Alessandra at her own wedding, and as for this grandson, he may be extremely handsome and mysterious, but he has to go. I'm so excited for this book. Oh my gosh, look at the characters on the back of the naked hardcover. That is so, so cool. Next up, I have this month's Fairy Lou Romantasy book box, and that is Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. I actually really like this cover. I think this is really beautiful. I don't know what the regular cover looks like. I'll go ahead and post it right here, but I think I heard a rumor. Is it that this one is much different or it's the same? I don't remember, but I like this cover. I think this is beautiful. It does have the pretty sprayed edges. They're kind of like mushrooms. This is giving me kind of like Emily Wilde's vibes on the sprayed edges. It says, sweet creature, no one's intentions for you are more wicked than my own. And then, oh wow, I love the cover art. Look at that on the inside. There's the characters and look at this cute little wolf. How adorable. And then it has the house on it. And it says, Beware the fae and never trust them with your heart. For 20 years, I've been an unwanted changeling. I have no name, no family, and no answers, until an irresistibly wicked fairy begins a seductive game of cat and mouse. I am his prey, his treasure, a perfect pet. He offers a trade. He will take me to the fairy realms to assist in my search for the truth of who I am. In return, I must agree to marry him, but things are not as they seem, and soon after arriving at his wintry manor, I begin to unravel a dangerous web of lies. Far deadlier still, I am falling in love with a monster who has no heart. So good. And last but not least, for our special editions was this month's fairy loot book, and that is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. I do have a regular copy of this book, but look at the edges. A moment for the edges. Can you guys see that? The bees, I can't. This is so beautiful. And the inside only gets prettier because they did a very like neutral tone gold foiling. I don't know if you could see the gold foiling, but gold foiling vibe with the gold and white honey pot on the inside. This I've heard is a little bit of like a cozy fantasy. It says, Marigold Claude has always preferred the company of the spirits of the meadow to any of the suitors who have tried to woo her. So when her grandmother whisks her away to the family cottage on the tiny Isle of Innisfree with an offer to train her as the next honey witch, she accepts immediately. But her newfound magic and independence come with a price. No one can fall in love with the honey witch. When Lottie Burke, a notoriously grumpy skeptic who doesn't believe in magic, shows up on her doorstep, Marigold can't resist the challenge to prove to her that magic is real. But soon, Marigold begins to care for Lottie in ways she never expected, and when darker magic awakens and threatens to destroy her home, she must fight for much more than her new home at the risk of losing her magic and her heart. So this sounds like a sapphic cozy fantasy. Okay guys, I have to warn you, this is the part of the video where we are going to get completely unhinged because I purchased so many Kindle books in the last few months that I had to make a 7-page spreadsheet. A 7-page spreadsheet to document my purchases. There is no possible way that I could go over all 300 of these books with you. But what I'm going to do is first explain myself and second explain how I'm going to do this to make this a cohesive video that doesn't take 7.5 hours. So explanation first. How does one purchase or obtain 300 books? And the answer for the most part is I'm out of my mind. But secondly, I do have a very, very tiny little minor excuse. So there was, I believe, 2 Stuff Your Kindle days since like March, which was the last haul I think I did or something like that, April. So if you are unaware, a Stuff Your Kindle day is when Amazon goes ahead and marks down like hundreds of books, hundreds, to $0 completely free. And the entire point is you are supposed to pack stuff your Kindle with as many books as you would like. And I take that suggestion very literally and do stuff my Kindle with a ton of books. There is no possible way that I'm going to be able to discuss with you every single book, but I am going to read their titles and I'm going to put 6 of them up at a time. And then at the end, we're going to go through the books that I actually purchased that weren't free that I want to kind of touch on briefly with you guys. So let me scooch over and we will start with our first category and our first 6 books. Okay, so our first category of our Kindle book haul is going to be romance, and there are 39 books in this category, and we are going to start with our first 6. So here you go. Up here we have Flirting with the Playboy, The Surrogate Nanny, The Other Side of Forever, The Nanny and the Nerd, Just One Time, and At Any Price. So if any of these look good or any of the books look intriguing to you in this section of the video, go ahead, pause, or take a screenshot. You can go and look up exactly what they are or download them if you want, but a couple of these have been on Stuff Your Kindle several times, so you might want to wait till the next one because they might be free again. Okay, the next 6 are Time for You, First Comes Love, Wish I Knew Then, Billionaires in Disguise, Forever Love, and Dirty Plans. Next up, there's My Boss's Secret, Bless Your Heart, Hope's River, Unswipe, Hating Thy Neighbor, and Highest Bidder. Screenshot. Do any of these look good? Comment below which ones you guys think look good or which ones you guys grabbed on Stuff Your Kindle Day. Next up, we have Lipstick and Camera Clicks. I have heard of this one before. I think I saw Shaughnessy, who I'll link below, actually read this and really enjoy it. So, Lipstick and Camera Clicks, Love Again, Mr. Black, Sinful Duty, Sweet Distraction, and The Billionaire's Fake Fiancé. Next up, we have Limitless, Flirting with the Enemy, Teach Me the Ropes, a good old cowboy romance that we got completely for free. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert, another one that I've seen a lot of influencers talk about and have actually really loved. The Burnout, which I've also seen talked about, and To Sir with Love, which I believe is like a texting romance, I'm pretty sure. A lot of really good ones. Next up, we have Dungeons and Drama, The One Who Loves You, The Dead Guy Next Door by Lucy Score, The Billionaire's Secret Heart, Rushed, and One Day. I believe One Day just came out as a Netflix special as well. So if you want to read the book before you watch the Netflix special, keep an eye out on it because it goes on sale like a lot. Then the last three are Love Holly, Making Waves, and With a Little Luck. Love Holly, I think, is a really cute, like, Christmas time story. Making Waves has the most adorable cover I've seen in a long time. And With a Little Luck is actually a book I found by Marissa Meyer that I have never heard of before. It sounds really cute. So next category are our sport romances, and I downloaded 10 sport romances. So here's the first category: Meet Me in the Penalty Box, Just a Football Star, The Summer Playbook, Catching Quinn, Against the Boards, and Famous Last Words. So these are going to be a compilation of a bunch of different sports, but mostly hockey, because mostly sports romances for some reason seem to be hockey. And the last four are Icebound, Double Pucked, Cross-Checked, and Hooked, which is the first book in the Ritter You series. Hopefully you took some good screenshots. The next category is going to be our fantasy / romantasy, and this is our largest category, so get your screenshot and fingers ready because there are 68 books that I grabbed in this category. Here's the first 6. To Kill a Kingdom, Realm of Shadows and Flames, The Blackthorn Queen, Guardians of the Aspis, which is more epic high fantasy, just so you know. The Sea Rose and Heroines of Olympus, that is a Sapphic Greek Olympus retelling, I believe. And To Kill a Kingdom, I actually have a couple of copies of. I know that's pretty popular as well. So the next 6 are Fuse, The Timeless Trials, Valor, Shadows of Kiev, A Bounty of Secrets and Rebellion, and The Secret Mage. The next 6 are A Vow of Ruin, A Kingdom of Iron and Wine, Ishtar's Blade, Everwood, Fated Born, and Legend of the Huntress. A bunch of these I've seen talked about on BookTube. I think a bunch of them might be Kindle Unlimited as well, so if any of those look good, go look up the synopses and you might be able to download it for free. Next up is Queen of Earth and Stone, Flower, which is the first book in the Green Princess trilogy, A Dark and Lovely Devastation, Ascend from the Shadows, A Wild Flower in the Wind, which I believe I actually grabbed the second book of as well, which we'll talk about later, and Of Curses and Contempt. Next 6 are Living Legend, The Dagger and the Forbidden Air, A Kingdom of Sun and Shadow, A Reflection of Silver and Crimson, Spellbound After Midnight, which is a very popular book, so you might want to go and look into that one, and Heart's Rescue. I also grabbed The Stones of Resurrection, Another Damned Darling, The Storm King, Princes of Sin, In the Shadows, and 7 Crowns. Then I grabbed Crowns of Wings and Thorns, Clementine's Parlor of the Extraordinary and Curious, which sounds very cute, Daylight's Curse, which is also very popular, Lunaria, One Little Nightmare, which almost has like a horror type vibe to it, and The Bride of Leicester, which is also very popular and sounds very good. Next up, I grabbed Academy of Protectors, Veil of Fate, Night Elves of Ardani, Stripped Away, Touched by Fire, and Blood of Stone. I also grabbed Slave Warrior Queen, Finding Obsidia, The Unmarked Witch, which is very popular, The Surviving Sky. This sounds like an absolute sci-fi fantasy fever dream of people that live like hovering in the sky, I think. The Blood That Binds Us, which I've heard a lot about, and Of Beast and Burden. Ever the Hunted, A Ruinous Fate, Darker by 4, which actually was featured in a book box. I forget which one. It might have been the Fairytale YA box. I think I skipped that month, but Beyond, The Vine Witch, and The Queen of Days. I also grabbed Threads That Bind, Vicious Bonds, Forest of Firelight. I grabbed the second one as well. We'll talk about that later. Lost in the Never Woods, Shadow Mark, and Wicked is the Reaper. And last but not least, I grabbed Vines and Vices and Sea of Shadows. Whew. I need a sip of my soda after that category, man. I can already feel my voice going. We're not even halfway there. Jeez Louise. Okay, our next category is fairy tale retellings. And I grabbed 20 books in this category. The first is Ella Ever After, Crimson Collar, Stalks of Gold, Kitsune, Into the Forest, Enchant, and Ash and Roses. These are all different fairy tale retellings, but a lot of the times you can kind of get like a vibe from the cover. Next up, Crimson Collar, The Bone Thief's Tale, Hooked, Tame His Beast, Cindered Glass, and Beauty and the Blade. And you know, the funniest thing about this category is I always talk about how much I'm not really a huge fan of fairy tale retellings, but they were free, okay? And one of these books, if not multiple of these books, might change my mind and make me love them. Next up, I grabbed Trick Me Not, Lured by the Dusk, Dark Oz, Sins of Sorrow, Queen of Hearts, and An Enchantment of Thorns. And the last two are The Scarlet Rose and In the Shadow of a Wish. Okay, the next category is dark romance, and some of these are very dark. There are 29 books that I grabbed in the dark romance category, and I guess I should also say that a lot of these books probably could fit into 2 categories, but like, I did my best, guys. Also keep in mind that I have obviously not read all of these books yet, so I'm just going on the synopsis and what the cover looks like. So the first 6 I grabbed in the dark romance category were Hush, A Motorcycle Club, Prince of the Undying, which was actually randomly selected in our TBR this month, Twisted Selection, Forbidden, Shadowed Heart, and Saving Scarlet. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't read a ton of dark romance, so I know next to nothing about these, but covers, guys, covers. The next 6 are Not a Peep, Daisy Unchained, Empire of Lust, Buttons and Lace, Church, and Royal Savage. I also grabbed Velvet Kingdom, Light It Up, Call Me Freak, Forbidden Obsession, Wickford Hollow, and Rain. Then I grabbed Breaking Lucia, Oathkeeper's MC, Pretty When You Lie, Stay Baby Stay, Defiant Heart, and Dark Desire. And last but not least, I grabbed The Pack, The Darkest King, Snatched by the Bratva, Black, and Tease Me Once. Sorry guys, not to be all up in your grill. I just needed a little change of scenery, and I think this gives us a little more space for the pictures. So there you go. Okay, so the next category I made was the monster / occult / paranormal romance books. And I did grab a lot of these because I noticed like Stuff Your Kindle Day always kind of has like just a tiny bit of a theme. And I think the theme of this one was kind of like monster romance, I think, because there was a lot. So I grabbed 30 of these books in this category, and they are Oops, I Ate a Vengeance Demon, what a name, Chosen by Villains, Witch's Dawn, Freaks of Honor, Magic Hidden, Magic Found, and A Polar Expedition, which actually sounds really cool. I think this is about like a polar researcher who discovers paranormal creatures in the Arctic. Next 6 are The King in Red, How to Fall in Love with a Demon, Inked, A Force of Nature, Love and Curse Making, and War Queen. Next I grab Caught in the Basilisk. Why is this word so hard? Ever since the days of Harry Potter. I can't say it. Caught in the Basilisk's Gaze. The Ogre Knight, Daughter of Serpents, Seeds of Sorrow, Bound to You, and Bound by Fate and Blood. I also grabbed Forsaken Mate, The Demon's Kiss, Treasure of the Abyss, Ian, Blade-Bound Orc, Empire of Dark, and Of Song and Tide. And last but not least, I grabbed The Cursebound Thief, A Storm of Paper Starlings, Stealing the Troll's Heart, Prince of Beasts, Stone Hearts, and Getting It On with Gargoyles. Because why wouldn't I? Now I broke down the next couple of romantasy and like paranormal beings into like a little bit more specific categories for anybody that these are like your specific tastes. So the first one I have is Fae Romantasy, and there's 14 books. To Catch a Fae, Masked Temptation, Frozen Hearts and Death Magic, Royal Hunt, Our Fae Queen, and The Ruin of the Heartless Fae. All of these are fae. Then Court of Tricksters, which sounds very intriguing. Go and look up this synopsis of this book because it sounds really good. Shardless, Hawkwitch, Eve of the Fae, House of Gilded Nightmares, and A Court of Honey and Ash, which does have a bit of book talk infamy. And last but not least, Dirty Lying Fairies and Pawn. Next up, we have 6 books in our vampire romantasy category, and they are A Time of Demons and Destiny, Bite of Loyalty, Shade of Blood Moon, Bite the Woman That Feeds, Forged of Fire, and Of the Blood. The next category I'm so excited for because it is our paranormal academia category, and I love a good academic setting. There are 14 books in this category. I grabbed Gemini Queen, Dark Falls Academy, Primal Awakening, Something Wicked, Warrior Saints, and the Ravenhold Academy Book 1. I also grabbed Curse of the Four Gods, Fortune Academy, The Fire Prophecy, Deal with the Devil, Unstable, and Cracked Open. And last but not least, I grabbed the Shadow Spell Academy Book 1, very popular series, and All That Consumes Us. The next category is one I think everyone's going to be very excited about because it is our dragon or dragon-related romantasy books. Here's our first 6. Blood Feud, Dragon Rejected, Stroke Her Flame, Bronze Dragon, Amethyst Dragon. These are in the same series. And To Ignite a Pyrite Spirit. Then we have Unleashed, King of Demons, Dragon's Gift, Crown of Dragons, Firebolt, and Dragon Feared. And last but not least, Wild Bond, Court of Dragons and Crowns, Wildest Dreams, and Serpents of Sky and Flame. Go grab your dragon books. Next up is for all my fellow Ice Planet Barbarian lovers because this is our alien romance category, and I grabbed 4 alien romance books. They are Fated to the Alien Warrior, Claimed by the Alien Outlaw, Bound to the Orc Ranger, and Accidental Alien. Bound to the Orc Ranger. Is that an alien? It looks like an alien. I don't think so if it's an orc. We're leaving it in. Next, we are going to dive into our omegaverse books. For anyone who hasn't read anything from the omegaverse, this is like werewolf, wolf shifter literature. So, omegaverse books are Unveiling the Arcane, Wolf Shunned, Hungry for Her Wolves, Ready or Not. Guess what's going to happen in that book? Kelsey, and Mated. I also grabbed Ruthless Alpha, A God's Promise, Wolfsbane, and Snared by the Werewolf, Golden, which is very popular, Fated to the Alpha, and last but not least, Nightshade. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about the books I grabbed that are like a historical regency romance romantasy, if it has that historical regency vibe. The first 6 are A Deal with the Earl, Crazy in Love, Lady Beast's Bridegroom, First to Fall, Fire on Fire, and Plucked by the Orc. I'm going to have to go and look up that synopsis because I apparently thought it had Regency vibes. Who knows? Then our last 4, Running from the Prince of Prohibition, A Sure Duke, and A Most Agreeable Murder. The next category is going to be the books I grabbed in the mystery thriller genre, and they are Beaches, Bungalows, and Burglaries, Silent Scream, Knock Knock, A Flicker in the Dark, The Cold, Cold Sea, and The Missing Daughter. Next 6, All Good People Here, Then She Was Gone, The Resort, All the Dangerous Things, Shark, Infested Waters. What? Yes, sign me up. Love this book. And The Last Housewife. And the last 3 in this category were The Cheerleaders, These Deadly Prophecies, and Killers of a Certain Age. I also grabbed only 3 science fiction books, and they were Illuminae, The Aeronauts Windless, and The Last Lumanian. And now very quickly, our last category is going to be continuations in series, which means that these are like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, etc. books in a series that I've already owned the first book to. Or sometimes what they do is they like to play these little tricks on you where they like to put the 2nd and 3rd books on sale or even free because they know you'll then have to purchase the first book. Tricky, but I'm liking it from a marketing standpoint, guys. So these are as follows. A Torch Against the Night. This is book 2. Need Me, which is book 2, A Reluctant Roommate, which is book 4, Pretty Pretty Please, which is book 3, Of Vines and Rivals, book 2, and Promise to the Prince, book 2. Next up, we have Making the Cut, book 2, Change of Heart, book 5, An Unexpected Roomie, book 3, House of Striking Oaths, book 3. This is actually brand new. I'm pretty sure this is the new release in the, what did I call it? House of Beating Wings series by Olivia Wildenstein. So I was really surprised that that went up for such a good deal. And the Baby and the Blue Blood, Baby and the Blue Blood, say that 3 times fast, book 3, and The Hookup Equation, book 4. I also grabbed Slayer of the Pirate Lord, book 8, Capturing the Orc's Heart, book 3, Thunderlight, book 2, Unhinged, book 2, House of Roots and Ruin, book 2, another very popular series, Walk on the Wilder Side, book 2, and Wilder with You, book 3. More series were Golden Sun, book 2. This is the follow-up to Red Rising, so a very popular series. Queen of Shadows, book 4 in the Throne of Glass series. Sea of Starlight, book 2. This is actually a threefer. Tiger's Quest, Tiger's Voyage, and Tiger's Destiny. This is books 2, 3, and 4 in the A Tiger's Curse series. Next up, The Secret Service of Tea and Treason, book 3. Cushiel's Chosen, book 2. Arch Enemies, book 2. A Rogue of One's Own, book 2. Nightbane, book 2. The first book in this series is Lightlark by Alice Axter, very popular book. And Aurora Burning, which is book 2 after Aurora Rising. So that finishes up the books that I grabbed for free on Stuff Your Kindle Day, or like 99-cent special on that day. And now let's talk about the actual Kindle books I purchased, paid for, and I think I want to highlight very briefly. Okay, full disclosure, I took a whole dinner break. I've been talking for so long, but dinner was delicious, so we're ready to get back into it now. The first book that I paid for and put on my Kindle was Pines by Blake Crouch. This is the first book in the Wayward Pines trilogy. I think this was written, let's see, because he's obviously very well known for a ton of books, including like Dark Matter, but this was written in October of 2022. I actually don't know when Dark Matter was written, but I think this was beforehand. And there's currently 3 books in this series. I don't know much about it, but it does say One Way In, No Way Out. Secret Service agent Ethan Burke arrives in Wayward Pines, Idaho with the mission: locate 2 federal agents who went missing in the bucolic town 1 month earlier. But within minutes of his arrival, Ethan is involved in a violent accident. He comes to be in a hospital with no ID, no cell phone, and no briefcase. As the days pass, Ethan's investigation turns up more questions than answers. Why can't he get any phone calls through to his wife and son in the outside world? Why doesn't anyone believe he is who he says he is? And what is the purpose of the electrified fences surrounding the town? Little paranormal thriller? The next book I got was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book in the Powerless. I believe it's going to be a trilogy if you don't count the little novella Powerful, which came in between, which I do. I loved the little novella. I can't say too much about this because it is the second book in a series, but Powerless is basically this iconic TikTok book that I thought was decent. So I'm excited to move on in the series. The next book is a little bit of a departure from me, but I picked it up when it was on sale for like $1.99, and that's Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruccio. I think it's how you pronounce his name. I believe this is classified as a sci-fi. It is 624 pages. That is a big sci-fi book. And it says, Hadrian Marlowe, a man revered as a hero and despised as a murderer, chronicles his tale in the galaxy-spanning debut of the Sun Eater series, merging the best of space opera and epic fantasy. I also picked up The Burning Sky by Sherry Thomas. I believe this is a YA fantasy, and I actually saw Tori Between Pages read this book and love it. And one day it went on sale for like, I think like 99 cents, so I scooped it up. It says it's a romantic fantasy debut, the first in the Elemental trilogy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this Iolanthe Elamphi Seaborn is the greatest elemental mage of her generation, or so she's told. The one prophesied for years to be the savior of the realm, it is her duty and destiny to face and defeat the Bane, the most powerful tyrant and mage the world has ever known. This would be a suicide task for anyone, let alone a reluctant 16-year-old girl with no training. My son is going crazy up there on his silly baseball game. Everything is fine, I promise. He's excited and celebrating because he probably scored a home run on his silly Oculus game. Moving on. Guided by his mother's visions and committed to avenging his family, Prince Titus has sworn to protect Elamphi, even as he prepares her for their battle with the Bane. But he makes the terrifying mistake of falling in love with the girl who should have only been a means to an end. Oh, so it's a little YA romantasy. Sounds cute. The next book I have literally never heard anybody talking about. While I was browsing the Kindle daily deals, this popped up for 99 cents and I was intrigued by the cover. I don't know if I've ever said this about myself, but I've ridden horses my entire life. I've owned, I believe, 4 horses in my lifetime. I love them. I currently don't own one right now because they are very time consuming and I just do not have the time because I'm mom hard in this household. So I don't own any right now, but I've owned horses my entire life. I've ridden my entire life. So this cover was like, yes, I love this cover. What is this about? It's called Girls and Their Horses by Eliza Jane Brazier. And it says it's set in the glamorous competitive world of show jumping, which I actually did show jumping and dressage for any of my horse girlies. It's a novel about the girls who ride, their cutthroat mothers, and a suspicious death at a horse show from the author of Good Rich People. Sounds like rich people, equestrian, murder mystery. The next book was actually completely free during Stuff Your Kindle Day too, and I picked it up, but I had meant to grab this book, so I wanted to talk about it anyways before I realized it was going to be free, so I just lucked out. This is Crown of Earth and Sky, which is the first book in the Secrets of the Fairy Crown series. I think there's 4 of them out already by Emberly Ash. This says, what do I want? A quick death. Barring that, I only dream of one thing, revenge. Veka Pendragon was crowned queen in a farce fit for any circus. Now as her traitorous court plots around her, the new queen of the elemental fae must take revenge on the humans who betrayed her while also guarding a dangerous secret. The arrival of her betrothed, the storied brutal prince, is merely another cog in the wheels of time and space spinning around her. Aaron Earthborn is the strongest terrestrial fae in millennia. If Veka wishes to keep the peace her ancestors fought and died for, she must join with him soon. But the brutal prince has not earned his name by playing nice. The torture he exacts will enrage and inflame her and endanger a secret that would rip their world to shreds. It is a twisted mythology retelling of the Arthur legend. That sounds so good. I think perhaps the best score on Stuff Your Kindle Day was The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. This is the first book in the Ever Seas series. I think there's 4 of them out as well now. And I've heard the Raven-Haired Reader rave about this book. A couple other of the fantasy book girlies have said this book is absolutely excellent. I do not want to know too much about this, but I believe this is a pirate fantasy where the daughter of royalty is taken by pirates, I believe. I also grabbed The Night Market by Jessica Sundin. This says it's a standalone fae romantasy in the Bound by Ravens series. So maybe another raven shifter book. It says a mortal seer enslaved by a traveling fairy market, a raven shifter forced to marry to save his caravan tribe, and a future not even the cards could predict. How pretty is this cover? Our friend Furnace says hello. I also scooped up Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. This says it's a chilling twist on the cursed film genre, which I'm actually super intrigued about. I haven't gotten too into horror genre, like the horror book genre yet, but cursed film genre is really interesting to me. So it's a chilling twist on the cursed film genre from the best-selling author of the Pallbearers Club. In June 1993, a group of young guerrilla filmmakers spent 4 weeks making Horror Movie, a notorious, disturbing art house horror flick. The weird part, only 3 of the film's scenes were ever released to the public, but Horror Movie was nonetheless grown a rabid fan base. 3 decades later, Hollywood is pushing for a big budget reboot. The man who played the Thin Kid is the only surviving cast member. He remembers all too well the secrets buried within the original screenplay, the bizarre events of the filming, and the dangerous cross lines on set that resulted in tragedy. It's an obsessive, psychologically chilling, and suspenseful feat of storytelling genius. Sounds good. I don't want to say too much about Middle of the Night by Riley Sager because I may or may not, without saying too much and giving away too much because I don't think I'm supposed to yet, I am definitely going to be reading this in the month of August, so wink wink, hint hint. But I did grab Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, and I honestly am not I'm not even going to read the description. You guys can go ahead and look this up and read it if you're a Riley Sager fan, if you haven't already heard that this is his new release. I am guaranteed to be reading this in August, and I prefer to go into my mystery thrillers completely blind. I don't even want to know anything that happens in this. I am so excited about the next book because I think it's a bit of a departure from me, but I've heard that it's absolutely excellent. I grabbed Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This book is, like I said, a departure, but I've heard it's excellent. It went on sale for like $1.99 one day, and I grabbed it because I think it's normally like $11.99, but it is Kindle Unlimited if you want to grab it. So that's good. Okay, so it says, if you could go back in time, who would you want to meet? In a small back alley of Tokyo, there is a cafe that has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. Local legend says that this shop offers something else besides coffee, the chance to travel back in time. Over the course of one summer, 4 customers visit the cafe in hopes of making that journey, but time travel isn't so simple and there are rules that must be followed. More importantly, the trip can only last as long as it takes for the coffee to get cold. It sounds so good. Next, I grabbed the Kindle version of A Promise of Fire because I do own the physical version by Amanda Boucher. I believe is this dragon fantasy? Kat Feista isn't who she pretends to be. She's perfectly content living disguised as a soothsayer in a traveling circus, avoiding the destiny the gods and her dangerous family have saddled her with. As far as she's concerned, the magic humming within her blood can live and die with her. She won't be a pawn in anyone's game. But then she locks eyes with an ambitious warlord from the magic-deprived South, and her illusion of safety is shattered forever. Okay. I also grabbed Fable by Adrienne Young. It says, welcome to the world made dangerous by the sea and by those who wish to profit from it, where a young girl must find her place and her family while trying to survive in a world built for men. Our main character, I think, is the daughter of the most powerful trader in the Narrows. The sea is the only home 17-year-old Fable has ever known. So I'm assuming this is another pirate fantasy. I also grabbed The Road Trip and The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, both very different, but same author. Another book that's a departure for me, but I just saw it while I was browsing the daily deals and something about it just sucked me in, is Daughters of Warsaw by Maria Francis. This says it's an emotional and inspiring World War II time slip novel of danger and courage, inspired by true events and stories of Irina Sendler and the women of the Polish Zagota. It said it takes place in 1942 Warsaw. Young Zofia finds herself leading a double life where she is enlisted to help the fearless Irina Sendler save hundreds of Jewish children from the Warsaw Ghetto. And then it flashes forward to current time in Seattle when a woman named Lizzie returns to the comforts of her childhood home when she's grieving a miscarriage, and she stumbles upon a hidden photograph of her great-grandmother among a mysterious group of people. So we will see how those two things relate. Next up, I grabbed The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I believe this is a psychological thriller, and it says it is a page-turning novel set in Jim Crow, Florida that follows Robert Stevenson Jr. as he's sent to a segregated reform school that is a chamber of terrors where he sees the horrors of racism and injustice for the living and the dead. I also grabbed Shark Heart by Emily Haybeck. This book sounds really bizarre. This is a literary fiction and I am just completely confused by the synopsis, but it says, for Lewis and Wren, their first year of marriage is also their last. A few weeks after their wedding, Lewis receives a rare diagnosis. He will retain most of his consciousness, memories, and intellect, but his physical body will gradually turn into a great white shark. What? That's going to make their marriage kind of rough, I would imagine. As Lewis develops the features and impulses of one of the world's most predatory creatures in the ocean, his complicated artist's heart struggles to make peace with his unfulfilled dreams. It's a story of marriage, motherhood, metamorphosis, and letting go. It's an intergenerational love story beginning with newlyweds Wren and her husband Lewis, and it takes place over the course of 9 months as he transforms into a great white shark. I don't know. I really don't know. All I'm going to say is that this has 4.5 stars and almost 2,000 ratings. Another one I grabbed was To Charm a Dark Prince. It says it's an addictive enemies to lovers fantasy romance, and it's the first book in the Iron Crystal series. And it says to save a kingdom, she must charm a monster. Transported to the magical realm of Avalon, Gwen finds herself in the hands of its dark and beautiful ruler, Mordred, the Prince in Iron. The prince holds total power in Avalon, trapping his rivals in an enchanted crystal prison, but he shows a strange gentleness to Gwen. Seeing no other way to escape, Gwen strikes a deal with Mordred's enemy. If she can break the crystal, she will be free to go home. Gwen joins Mordred's court with a plan to steal his heart and destroy his prize, but desire sparks between them at once. He is a dangerous host, but as they draw closer, his passion and anger burn brighter. It says it's a gripping fairy tale and a seductive fantasy romance with slow-burning attraction, enemies to lovers banter, and an alluring villain. I was so excited to see To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Mona Quill Blackgoose on sale for like $2 one day, because I actually have picked this up and put it down in Barnes & Noble a couple of times. It's never been one of the ones that's like made the cut when I go to checkout. But when I saw this on sale for $2, it was the quickest I ever clicked to buy. It says, let's see, the remote island of Masquapog has not seen a dragon in many generations until 15-year-old Anikis finds a dragon's egg and bonds with its hatchling. Like kind of like Aragon-esque-ish. Her people are delighted, for all remember the tales of the days when dragons lived among them and danced away the storms of autumn, enabling the people to thrive. To them, Anikis is revered as Napeshwaiset, a person in a unique relationship with a dragon. Unfortunately for Anikis, the English conquerors of her land have different opinions. They have a very specific idea of how a dragon should be raised and who should be doing the raising, and Anikis does not meet any of their requirements. Only with great reluctance do they allow Anikis to enroll in a proper English dragon school on the mainland. If she cannot succeed there, her dragon will be killed. But for a girl with no formal schooling, a non-English upbringing, and a very different understanding of the history of her land, challenges abound, both socially and academically. It sounds kind of like a mix between like dragon fantasy and like a comment on colonialism? I don't know. Next up is another completely cover purchase, and that is Canadian Boyfriend by Jenny Holiday. I just thought this was a really cute cover. It says, fate brings together a ballet teacher and a hockey player in this big-hearted novel about second chances and taking risks. And it says, Entertainment Weekly called Jenny Holiday the master of witty banter. So that is saying a lot. Next up, I picked up Hidden Deep by Amy Patrick. It is the first of 10 books in the Hidden Saga, so that intrigued me. It says, the first time I saw him, everyone convinced me he was a hallucination caused by hypothermia. It was the second time that messed me up. Ryan Carroll has just run into the guy who saved her life 10 years ago. You might think she'd be happy to see him again. Not exactly. She's a bit underdressed, as in skinny dipping, and he's not supposed to exist. Lad knows the law of his people all too well. Don't get careless and don't get caught. It's allowed his race to live undetected in this world for thousands of years, mentioned only in flawed and fading folklore. Lad's never been able to forget about Ryan since that night 10 years ago. When he sees her again, his fascination reignites and becomes a growing desire that tempts him to break all the rules. He's not even supposed to talk to a human, much less fall in love with him. Fall in love with one. I don't know what I'm talking about. Sounds like he saved her, but he's not supposed to exist. The next book I grabbed because it was actually a book of the month book. It's Margot's Got Money Troubles by Rufy Thorpe. This is a literary fiction, I believe they categorized it as. And it says it's a bold, laugh out loud, funny, and heartwarming story about one woman's attempt to navigate adulthood, new motherhood, and her meager bank account in our increasingly online world. Yet another great daily deal, because this book is normally $16 on Kindle and went on sale for like $2.99. I picked up Paris, the memoir. Full disclosure, I'm not a gigantic Paris Hilton fan. I mean, I loved The Simple Life. It was like my best friend and my favorite show back in the day, back when we were in high school. But I mean, I never really was a massive Paris Hilton fan. However, I did go to an all-girls boarding school. Fantastic all-girls boarding school. Best 4 years of my life, honestly. But I was very intrigued when I saw Paris come out with the story of her abusive, like, disciplinary boarding school that she went to. not similar at all, not similar cultures to what I experienced, so I'm not trying to relate in any way, but like I do know a little bit of something about the boarding school culture and about being a teenager living away from home, and I can see how if you're not in the right location or with the right people, how that could very easily be taken advantage of and exploited. And I was very interested to hear her account of what happened. So when I saw this go on sale, I grabbed it because this is her memoir and the story of her life as she sees it. Next, I grabbed The Ward Witch by Sarah Painter. This is the Unholy Island book. There's book 1. There's 3 of them so far. It says it's mysterious, magical, and a little bit deadly. Welcome to Unholy Island. Esme Gray runs the guest house and tends to the ethereal wards that protect the island. She's sheltering from a terrible past and will do anything to stay safely hidden. Luke Taylor has been searching for his missing twin for months and has begun to believe that his brother might be dead. With his hope in tatters, a tip-off leads him to a remote tidal island in the North Sea. It's further out than the famous Holy Island and far stranger. Visitors shouldn't be able to stay for more than 2 nights, so when Luke breaks this rule, the close-knit community is set into turmoil. The residents on Holy Island have secrets and they intend to keep them. Oh. Is there anything as good as a Diet Coke and a Stanley? Like an ice-cold Diet Coke? I really don't think so. Next, I grabbed 2 books by Sylvia Garcia Moreno. I grabbed Silver Nitrate and Mexican Gothic. So let's talk about Silver Nitrate first. Sorry, I think I reversed her name. I think I said Sylvia Garcia Moreno. It's Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I believe Silver Nitrate is her foray more into horror. I think Mexican Gothic's a bit, as it implies, more gothic, like dark gothic literature, but Silver Nitrate, I believe, is classified as horror. And it says, it's a fabulous meld of Mexican horror movie and Nazi occultism, a dark thriller about the curse that haunts a legendary lost film and awakens one woman's hidden powers. It says the 2 main characters work together to unravel the mystery of a film, and the obscure occultist who once roamed their city, Montserrat and Tristan, find the sorcerers and magic are not only the stuff of movies. And then Mexican Gothic says an isolated mansion, a chillingly charismatic aristocrat, and a brave socialite drawn to expose their treacherous secrets. It's a terrifying twist on classic Gothic horror set in the glamorous 1950s Mexico. Next up, I grabbed The Sorcerer's Daughter by Michelle Miles. This is book 1 in what is going to be a duology. I think the second book comes out in October, I think I read somewhere. But it's going to be called the 5 Towers duology. And it says a sorceress with no magic, a stolen crystal that holds the key to her future, and in a court of royals, a treacherous fate she can't escape. 17-year-old Violet Winthrop is destined to marry a nobleman if her father has anything to say about it, and he usually does. But when Violet yearns for more out of life than being a wife and a mother, she dreams of being a powerful sorceress. The problem is she has no magic until the day she stumbles upon a fragment of crystal that appears to have stars inside. Enthralled, Violet is compelled to steal it from her father's study and keeps it hidden on her person. When the crystal she's been hiding suddenly springs to life, responding to her every emotion, Violet's dreams of becoming a powerful sorceress seem to be within her grasp. Or will her ultimate power prove to be her ultimate destruction? Sounds good, a little Regency fantasy. I also grabbed The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels by Janice Hollett. This says, a whip-smart and fast-paced mystery from the international best-selling author of The Twyford Code and the Appeal about a true crime journalist who revives a long-buried case about a cult and finds herself too close to the story. Everyone knows the story of the Alperton Angels, the cult who brainwashed a teenage girl who into believing her baby was the Antichrist. Jeez. When the girl came to her senses and called the police, the angels committed suicide and mother and baby disappeared. Now, true crime author Amanda Bailey is looking to revive her career by writing a book on the case. The Alperton baby has turned 18. Finding them will be a scoop of the year. But rival author Olivier Menzies is just as smart, better connected, and also on the baby's trails. As Amanda and Oliver are forced to collaborate, they realize that the truth about the angels is much darker and stranger than they'd ever imagined. Another book I was eyeing for a while but didn't want to get until it went on sale is Honor Among Thieves by Rachel Kane and Anne Aguirre? I don't know how you pronounce her name, but There are currently 3 books in this series. It's the Honors series, and it says, meet your new favorite kick-ass heroine in this daring YA series about a thrilling yet romantic futuristic adventure perfect for fans of Claudia Gray's A Thousand Pieces of You. Petty criminal Zara Cole has a painful past that's made her stronger than most, which is why she chose life in New Detroit, instead moving with her family to Mars. In her eyes, living inside a dome isn't much better than a prison cell. Still, when Zara commits a crime that has her running scared, jail might be exactly where she's headed. Instead, Zara is recruited into the Honors, an elite team of humans selected by the Leviathan, a race of sentient alien ships, to explore the outer reaches of the universe as their passenger. Zara seizes the chance to flee Earth's dangers, but when she meets Nadim, the alien ship she's assigned, Zara starts to feel at home for the first time, but nothing could have prepared her for the dark, ominous truths that lurk behind the alluring glitter of starlight. Sounds like there's a little, like, sentient craft there? Sci-fi vibes? Next up is In the Woods by Tana French. This is book 1 of a 6-book Dublin Murder Squad series. It says, as dusk approaches a small Dublin suburb in the summer of 1984, mothers begin to call their children home, but on this warm evening, 3 children do not return from the dark and silent woods. When the police arrive, they find only one of the children gripping a tree trunk in terror, wearing blood-filled sneakers and unable to recall a single detail of the previous hours. 20 years later, the found boy, Rob Ryan, is a detective on the Dublin Murder Squad and keeps his past a secret. But when a 12-year-old girl is found murdered in the same woods, he and Detective Cassie Maddox, his partner and closest friend, find themselves investigating a case chillingly similar to the previously unsolved mystery. Another previous book of the month book was Wayward by Amelia Hart. I know that this is pretty acclaimed as in the literary fiction genre, and it says it's a spellbinding story about what may transpire when the natural world combines with a legacy of witchcraft. This next author has written so many books, and I am so intimidated by her writing for some reason, but I grabbed The Witch King by Martha Wells. I know she had another series that was very, very, like, beloved. I don't know why. I see her covers and I read her synopses, and I'm just so intimidated by her books. But this one says, after being murdered, her consciousness dormant and unaware of the passing of time while confined in an elaborate water trap, Kai wakes to find a lesser mage attempting to harness Kai's magic to his own advantage. That was never going to go well, but why was Kai imprisoned in the first place? What has changed in the world since his assassination, and why does the Rising World Coalition appear to be growing in influence? Kai will need to pull his allies close and draw on all of his pain magic. All his pain magic? Interesting. If he is to answer even the least of these questions. He's not going to like the answers. Martha Wells' first new fantasy in over a decade, drawing together her signature ability to create characters we adore and identify with, alongside breathtaking action and adventure and the wit and charm we've come to expect from one of the leading writers of her generation. Like, even that just intimidates me. So there's a couple reasons why I grabbed this next book. I picked up How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. So besides for the fact that this story just sounds excellent, you all know that I recently read my first Emily Henry book, which was Beach Read, and it was like a 6-star life-changing book and experience for me. And it is actually being made into a movie, and Yulin Kwong, the author of this book, happens to be writing the script for the Beach Read movie. So that right there, if she can do a great job with that, I bet you this book is fantastic. So it went on sale on one of the Kindle deals for $1.99 one day, and I grabbed it. It says, 2 writers with a complicated history end up working on the same TV show. Can they write themselves a new ending? A sexy and emotional enemies to lovers romance guaranteed to pull on your heartstrings and give you a book hangover. I guess they're both writers and they write on a show together and fall in love. This is described as enemies to lovers, but it's one of the things that romance books do, where they describe things as enemies to lovers and they're really just like workplace rivals, right? Like, I don't think there's any life and death here. The next book I've never heard anybody talk about, and it sounds so good. I grabbed The Lost Colony by Irina Shapiro, and it says, Jamestown promises to be a history lover's dream, a reality series featuring 15 contestants who will spend 6 months living in 17th century conditions, their ability to adapt and overcome daily hardship, judged by millions of TV viewers. Supplies will be replenished and a medical officer will be on hand to ensure everyone's well-being. Lucrative cash prizes will be awarded ended at the end, except that the colonists find themselves abandoned on an uncharted island on the first morning of the shoot, lacking sufficient provisions or a means of communication with the outside world. Tensions begin to mount and bodies start to pile up. Each contestant has reason to fear for their life, since everyone on the island hides a dangerous secret and any one of them may have a motive to kill. It sounds like they're recreating like Jamestown, except in a reality show. So Page and Wick, a subscription box that I subscribe to, recently announced that they are going to be doing a special edition of The Souls Aspect by Mark Holloway. So I wanted to grab it. This is a trilogy, The Aspect, and this is volume 1. It says it's a debut coming-of-age fantasy about a healer forced to become a killer for an empire that would grind his country to dust. I think this is much more epic fantasy than I usually read. I think there may be an inkling of a romance, but I'm definitely going to read it if I'm going to get a special edition from Page and Wick anyways. Next up, I grabbed Dark Waters, book 1 in the Celtic Legacy series by Shannon Meyer. It says, sisters bound by love, separated by blood, and doomed to face the unimaginable. An everyday vacation quickly turns into a nightmare of epic proportions. Two sisters must struggle to find the strength within themselves to survive, as well as to save one another. When the world of Fae emerges on a rocky shore far from the Emerald Isle, all hell breaks loose. Two factions vie for the sisters' loyalty, one light, the other dark, neither honest. A series of events are set into motion that will not only test the bonds of sisterly love, but will defy belief and reality. Then you have found yourself in dark waters. I also grabbed A Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. I've heard so many people talk about this and love it. There's currently 6 books in the Chronicles of Ixia series. 6, that's nuts. When was this written? 2020. Wow, that's crazy. And it also says that it's recommended for years 14 and up. So this is a YA book. It says, choose a quick death or slow poison. Locked deep in the palace dungeon for killing her abuser, Yelena knows she'll never be free again. The laws in Ixia are strict and murderers must be executed no matter the reason. But just as she's resigned herself to fate, she's offered an extraordinary reprieve. As the food taster, Yelena will eat the best meals, have rooms in the palace, and risk assassination by anyone trying to kill the commander of Ixia. I believe in order to escape prison, she's offered a position to be the royal food taster, where she has to taste the food for the king or some nobility in her society. And I guess the theory is if someone were to try to poison and kill the king, then she would eat it first. And basically, if she tastes the food and doesn't drop dead, it's safe for the king to eat. Next up, I grabbed The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. This is the first book in the Tide Child trilogy. And it says, it's a brilliantly imagined saga of honor, glory, and warfare. It's an epic launch of a new series from British Fantasy Award winner R.J. Barker. 2 nations at war, 1 prize beyond compare. For generations, the 100 Isles have built their ships from the bones of ancient dragons to fight an endless war. The dragons disappeared, but the battles for supremacy persisted. Now the first dragon in centuries has been spotted in far-off waters, and both sides see a chance to shift the balance of power in their favor, because whoever catches it will win not only glory, but the war. A dragon fantasy. I'm into it. Next up comes The Second Chance Year by Melissa Weissner. This, as it's an unforgettable story full of charm, wit, and just a bit of magic. A woman down on her luck is given a second chance at fixing her life and trying 1 year all over again. Okay, full disclosure, I don't know what book sounds weirder. The one where your husband is slowly transforming into a great white shark, or Annibot by Sierra Greer. This book may just creep me out because listen to this subscription. It says, it's a novel, a provocative novel about a relationship between a female robot and her human owner. Annibot was created to be the perfect girlfriend for her human owner, Doug. Designed to satisfy his emotional and physical needs, she has dinner ready for him every night, wears the pert outfits he orders for her, and adjusts her libido to suit his moods. True, she's not the greatest at keeping Doug's place spotless, but she's trying to please him. She's trying hard. She's learning too. Doug says he loves that Annie's AI makes her seem more like a real woman, so Annie explores human traits such as curiosity, secrecy, and longing. But becoming more human also means becoming less perfect. And as Annie's relationship with Doug grows more intricate and difficult, she starts to wonder, does Doug really desire what he says he wants? And in such an impossible paradox, what does Annie owe herself? That sounds really weird. I also picked up The Haunting of Blackwood House by Darcy Coates. Darcy Coates I've never read anything by, but I know she's a very prolific author and people love her. And I felt like this was the most intriguing for me from the ones that I've seen. It says she is the queen of Gothic mysteries, and this is a chilling story about the shadows of dead things and how they haunt the living. As the daughter of spiritualists, Maria's childhood was filled with seances and scam mediums. Now she's ready to start over with her fiancé Neil, far away from the superstitions she's learned to loathe. What would you like to do? Would you like to read one of the synopses?
Y'all like books?
Technically, you're sitting right where I would cover your face with a book.
Hey.
But that's okay. What did you need to say so desperately right now?
I wanted to cover your face with a book. This book is my favorite one.
That's your favorite? I don't think that would be your favorite. You would like this one.
She really thinks I would like a book.
This is a creepy book.
I just played Minecraft for 3 hours straight.
How about Home is Where the Bodies Are?
Body?
I just read a book about a woman whose husband is slowly transforming into a great white shark.
She needs help, guys. It's not okay.
That's what I just did. Oh,
Anyways, I lied. I just came for this.
the Oculus, of course.
Bye-bye.
Okay, goodbye. Keep it down up there. It would not be a Lindsay video if we did not have an unnecessary kid interruption. So there you go. Okay, so anyways, it says, as the daughter of spiritualists, Mara's childhood was filled with seances and scam mediums. Now she's ready to start over with her fiancé Neil, far away from the superstitions she's learned to loathe, but her past isn't willing to let her go so easily, and neither is Blackwood House. When Mara and Neil purchased the derelict property, they were warned that ever since the murder of its original owner, things have changed. Strange shadows stalk the halls, doors creak open by themselves, voices whisper in the night, and watchful eyes follow her every move, but Mara's convinced she can't possibly be in danger. She doesn't believe in ghost stories, and she didn't buy a haunted house. It's just not possible, because ghosts aren't real, are they? I also grabbed Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano. This was an Oprah's book club pick. I don't remember what month, but it was. And it says, William Waters grew up in a house silenced by tragedy, where his parents could hardly bear to look at him, much less love him. So when he meets the spirited, ambitious Julia Padovano in his freshman year of college, it's as if the world has lit up around him. With Julia comes her family, as she and her three sisters are inseparable. Sylvie, the family's dreamer, is happiest with her nose in a book. Cecilia is free-spirited artist, and Emmeline patiently takes care of them all. With the Padovanos, William experiences a newfound contentment. Every moment in their house is filled with loving chaos. But then darkness from William's past surfaces, jeopardizing not only Julia's carefully orchestrated plans for their future, but her sisters' unshakable devotion to one another. The result is a catastrophic family rift that changes their lives for generations. This seems very literary fiction. Next, I picked up Kingdom of Blood and Salt by Alexis Calder. It is book 1 in the 4-book Blood and Salt series. And it says it's an enemies to lovers fantasy romance perfect for fans of JLA, Raven Kennedy, and Sarah J. Maas. All three of those are some of my favorite authors, so that definitely sounded great. And it says, after spending years training to defend my people from our enemies, I never expected that my enemy would be the one keeping me alive. Athos is the last human city. A treaty with the Fae keeps the Fae, the vampires, and the wolf shifters at bay while we fight against the dragons at our border. So it literally has Fae, vampires, wolf shifters, and dragons. I also grabbed City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. This is book 1 in the House of Devils series, and I grabbed this because I've seen it in stores, but it is 762 pages. I am not going to hold that book. I'm always going to read it on a Kindle if I could choose. And it says, welcome to the city of Angelthine. We hope you survive. Lauren Calla has only ever been ordinary. As a human struggling to survive in a city that caters to the needs of vampires, werewolves, witches, and other supernatural creatures, she always assumed her life would remain simple, predictable, and as safe as her world would allow. Until she barely escapes abduction at the hands of the Darkslayers, a supernatural bounty hunter that possesses the Sight, a magical tracking ability that allows them to see a person's aura, and one of her friends is taken in her place. The abductors are demanding a ransom, Lauren's life, in exchange for her friend's return. Lauren will do whatever it takes to get her friend back, even if it means accepting help from Darien Castle, the leader of the Seven Devils, the most feared dark-slaying circle in the city. That sounds really good. Next, I grabbed books 1, 2, and 3 in the Mirror Visitor series by Christelle Dabos. I grabbed the first book, which is A Winter's Promise, the second book, which is The Missing Child of Claire de Lune, and the third book, which is The Memory of Babel. I have no idea what these are about, but the covers are beautiful. I've seen them in store, and I don't know why. For some reason, they've just sucked me in. Another cover grab was A Kingdom of Flame and Fury by Whitney Dean. It says this is the Four Kingdoms Book 1. And it says, at 10 years old, Raven was mysteriously willed to be the next ruler of Seolia, a kingdom nestled within the realm of the Four Kingdoms. Orphaned as a baby, she has spent 15 years ruling over a kingdom she believes she did not earn, all while hiding secrets. She possesses dark magic and she thirsts for blood. Now at almost 25 years old and with a sudden addiction to stealing life, Raven must fight through her new procured darkness to save her soul. But when a mysterious stranger arrives in her kingdom, she starts experiencing vivid dreams that detail who she truly is. And she slowly starts to unravel her story. What she uncovers at the end of the spool will change the course of her life and her kingdom forever. This has 4 stars with 860 ratings, and I think it seems pretty good. The next book has become pretty popular on Book Talk, and it's Till Death by Miranda Lynn. I've seen conflicting reports on it, but it sounds really excellent to me. It says, beyond the realms of gods, 2 cities stand at the brink of despair, and a dark destiny awaits death's newest maiden. I think from what I've gathered from other people's descriptions is in this kingdom there is a death maiden and a life maiden, and we are following our main female character who is the death maiden, I believe. I don't really want to know too much more besides for that, but just that sounds really good to me. Next up, I grabbed Behind the Broken by Chloe C. Peñaranda. This is a new series by Chloe C. Peñaranda, and it says, no one expects an angel to buy a ticket to hell. I would have lived my life the righteous way, but my path of vengeance forced me to become the monster my uncle wanted to create. When I lie my way into playing bodyguard for the senator's daughter, I don't expect our fires to cross or to become addicted to the blaze. Anastasia Kinsley burns the ice that froze my heart years ago, but I need to find the will to resist. Chained up in the devil's playground, I won't lose myself again. Then I guess from Anastasia's version, it says that she's the daughter of a hopeful new president and her life doesn't exactly feel like her own. But when her father assigns her a bodyguard during the run-up to the election, she's determined to make sure they both see exactly why she doesn't need their protection. It's a little bodyguard love story. Then I also picked up Blood and Steel by Helen Shorer. I have wanted to read something by Helen Shorer. I also own, I think she wrote Heart of Mist, I think I own by her. This is an epic romantic fantasy, the first book in the Legends of Thesmar series. And it says it's an epic romantasy with enemies to lovers, slow burn spice, found family, in a sprawling world of magic and monsters. I am really excited about the next book because it's an author I've been meaning to get into, and it is The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher. It says, young Rhea is a miller's daughter of low birth, so she is understandably surprised when a mysterious nobleman, Lord Craven, shows up on her doorstep and proposes marriage. Since commoners don't turn down lords, no matter how sinister they may seem, Rhea is forced to agree to the engagement. Lord Craven demands that Rhea visit his remote manor before their wedding. Upon arrival, she discovers that not only was her betrothed married 6 times before, but his previous wives are all imprisoned in his enchanted castle. Determined not to share their same fate, Rhea asserts her desire for freedom. In answer, Lord Craven gives Rhea a series of magical tasks to complete with the threat, come back before dawn, or else I'll marry you. With time running out and each task more dangerous and bizarre than the last, Rhea must use her resourcefulness, compassion, and bravery to rally the other wives and defeat the sorcerer before he binds to him forever. Another book I literally have not heard anybody talking about, and I'm mind blown by that because it sounds so good, is The Hidden Life of Cecily Larson by Ellen Baker. It says, in 1924, 4-year-old Cecily Larson's mother reluctantly drops her off in an orphanage in Chicago, promising to be back once she's made enough money to support both Cecily and herself. But she never returns, and shortly after high-spirited Cecily turns 7, she is sold to a traveling circus to perform as the little sister to glamorous bareback rider Isabella Dumond. With Isabel and the rest of the circus, Cecily finally feels she's found the family she craves, but as the years go by, the cracks in her little world begin to show, and when teenage Cecily meets and falls falls in love with a young roustabout named Lucky, she finds her life thrown into an entirely unexpected and dangerous course. In 2015, Cecily is now 94 and living a quiet life in Minnesota with her daughter, granddaughter, and great-grandson. But when her family decides to surprise her with an at-home DNA test, the unexpected results not only bring to light the tragic love story that Cecily had kept hidden secret for decades, but also throws into question everything about the family she's raised and claimed as her own for nearly 70 years. Cecily and everyone in her life must now decide who they really are and what family and forgiveness really mean. How good does that sound? How has no one talked about this book? Another book I've seen literally no one talk about is Unsinkable by Jenny L. Walsh. This book intrigued me because if there is something that I love second to sharks, it's Titanic. I have an obsession with the Titanic, and it says, the Titanic was only the beginning. What she survived has become legend. Inspired by true stories of survival and resilience, Unsinkable entwines the lives of two women, one from World War I and another from World War II, as they face adversity and take hold of the second chances given to them. I believe this follows our main female character whose mother survived the sinking of the Titanic, and it takes us through a couple of generations of women in their lives between the Titanic and both World Wars. It sounds so good. The next book I picked up was Daughter of the Blood by Anne Bishop, and this is book 1 in a 12-book Black Jewel series. I think this is another like Regency fantasy. It says it's about a witch with astonishing power and a dangerous destiny, and Damien Sadi, the lethal warlord prince born to be her lover. 700 years ago, a Black Widow witch saw an ancient prophecy come to life in her web of dreams and visions. Now the Dark Kingdom readies itself for the arrival of its queen, a witch who will wield more power than even the High Lord of Hell himself. But she is still young, still open to influence and corruption. Whoever controls the queen controls the darkness. 3 men, sworn enemies, know this, and they know the power that hides behind the blue eyes of an innocent young girl. And so begins a ruthless game of politics and intrigue, magic and betrayal, where the weapons are hate and love, and the prize could be terrible beyond imagining. This has 4.5 stars and over 4,000 reviews. Anne Bishop has written quite the series here. Next up we have The Last Lost Girl by Casey L. Bond. This is the first book in the Shadows of Neverland duet, and it says, welcome to Neverland, where shadows consume and magic is frighteningly real. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is some sort of Peter Pan retelling, but I don't really want to know anything besides for that. I also picked up Small Favors by Erin A. Craig when it went on sale for $1. I've actually been looking at this book in Barnes & Noble as well, and it's once again just kind of been put away before I purchase it. It says, it's a mesmerizing and chilling fairy-tale-esque novel about Ellery Downing, a young woman in a small town with monsters lurking in the trees and dark desires hidden in the shadows. In Amity Falls, nothing is more dangerous than a wish come true. I believe the town is Amity Falls, and it's surrounded by like a dark magical wood that you're not supposed to go into. So similar to when we were talking about The God and the Gumiho by Sophie Kim, and a Gumiho being a fox shifter, I grabbed Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I believe one of the characters is a Gumiho. It's an addictive fantasy romance set in modern day Seoul, and it says 18-year-old Gyu Mi-young has a secret. She's a Gumiho, a 9-tailed fox who must devour the energy of men in order to survive. Because so few believe in the old tales anymore, and with so many evil men no one will miss, the modern city of Seoul is the perfect place to hide and hunt. But after feeding one full moon, Mi-young crosses paths with Ji-hoon, a human boy being attacked by a goblin deep in the forest. Against her better judgment, she violates the rules of survival to rescue the boy, losing her fox speed, her Gumiho soul in the process. It's hard to stay hydrated when you're talking this long. First world problems. Next up, I grabbed You Are Here by David Nichols. This book sounds so good. It says, sometimes you need to get lost to find your way. Michael is coming undone. Adrift after his wife's departure, he has begun taking himself on long, solitary walks across the English countryside. Becoming ever more reclusive, he'll do anything to avoid his empty house. Marnie, on the other hand, is stuck. Hiding alone in her London flat, she avoids old friends and any reminders of her rotten, selfish ex-husband. Curled up with a good book, she's battling the long afternoons of a life that feels like it's passing her by. When a persistent mutual friend and some very unpredictable weather conspire to toss Michael and Marnie together on the most epic of 10-day hikes, neither of them can think of anything worse until, of course, they discover exactly what they've been looking for. Michael and Marnie are on the precipice of a bright future if they can survive the journey. I also picked up Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan. This is a book about a forbidden affair erupting volcanically amid a decadent tropical wedding in this outrageous comedy of manners. I believe this is rich people drama murder mystery set on an island during a wedding. That sounds incredible. So I was recently watching one of Rachel Catherine's reading vlogs, and in it she read a book called Snow Globe by Soo Young Park. And then the day after that vlog, it went on sale for $1. So I picked it up. I believe this is middle grade. I think this is recommended for ages 12 and up. So I think it would be classified as middle grade. But it says, in a world of constant winter, only the citizens of the climate-controlled city of Snow Globe can escape the bitter cold. But this perfect society is hiding dark and dangerous secrets within its frozen heart. Enclosed under a vast dome, Snow Globe is the last place on Earth that's warm. Outside Snow Globe is a frozen wasteland, and every day citizens face the icy world to get to their jobs at the power plant where they produce the energy Snow Globe needs. Their only solace comes in the form of 24-hour television programming streamed directly from the domed city. The residents of Snow Globe have everything: fame, fortune, and above all, safety from the desolation outside their walls. In exchange, their lives are broadcast to the less fortunate outside, who watch eagerly, hoping for the chance to one day become actors themselves. It almost sounds like the Truman Show, right? Like a snow winter Truman Show. Next up, I grabbed Ruth Ware's new release, which is called One Perfect Couple. And it says it's a high-tension thriller following 5 couples trapped on a storm-swept island as a killer stalks among them. That sounds pretty good. And like I said, I don't like knowing too much before I go into my thrillers, so I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, guys, we're coming down to the end here. I think we only have like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 7 books left. So next I picked up The Wager. It's a tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder by David Gran. This has 4.5 stars and almost 30,000 reviews. I believe this is like historical. It's fiction, but with a non-fiction element to it. I think it's based on true events. And it says it's a page-turning story of shipwreck, survival, and savagery, culminating in a court-martial that reveals a shocking truth. The powerful narrative reveals the deeper meaning of the events on The Wager, showing that it was not only the captain and crew who ended up on trial, but the very idea of empire itself. I don't want to go too much farther into it, but just listen to like this first paragraph of the synopsis. It says, on January 28th, 1742, a ramshackle vessel of patched together wood and cloth washed up on the coast of Brazil. Inside were 30 emaciated men, barely alive, and they had an extraordinary tale to tell. They were survivors of His Majesty's ship, the Wager, a British vessel that had left England in 1740 on a secret mission during an imperial war with Spain. While the Wager had been chasing a Spanish treasure-filled galleon known as the prize of all the oceans, it had wrecked on a desolate island off the coast of Patagonia. The men, after being marooned for months and facing starvation, built the flimsy craft and sailed for more than 100 days, traversing nearly 3,000 miles of storm-racked seas. They were greeted as heroes. But then, 6 months later, another even more decrepit craft landed on the coast of Chile. This boat contained just 3 castaways, and they told a very different story. The 30 sailors who landed in Brazil were not heroes, they were mutineers. The first group responded with counter-charges of their own of a tyrannical and murderous senior officer and his henchmen. It became clear that while stranded on the island, the crew had fallen into anarchy, whilst warring factions fighting for dominion over the barren wilderness. And as accusations of treachery and murder flew, the Admiralty convened a court-martial to determine who was telling the truth. The stakes were life and death for whomever the court found guilty could hang. That sounds so interesting. I also picked up Bow Before the Elf Queen by J.M. Curl. This says it's a whimsical and deeply romantic story inspired by Hades and Persephone, the Lord of the Rings, and a sprinkle of Norse mythology, a tale that will grip you from the first page. In hiding all of her life, Layala prepares for the day the wicked High Elf King Thane will come to steal her, his powerful mate. She trains to take her revenge for the wrongful execution of her parents who died for her freedom. Now that day has come, forcing her to come face to face with what she's hidden from, a dangerous dark-haired warrior king determined to marry her. After she's shoved into a black carriage pulled by 6 ominous steeds, Layala makes plans to take her captors' lives and free herself. But Thane has a secret that makes it impossible for Layala to slay him. She has an even darker truth that makes loving her forbidden, no matter how much Thane wants to touch. Another book I constantly saw in Barnes & Noble and came so close to picking up so many times is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett, and when it went on sale for $3.99, I grabbed it because I think this is a great investment on my Kindle. It says it's a beautiful and moving novel about family love and growing up. In the spring of 2020, Laura's 3 daughters return to the family's orchard in northern Michigan. While picking cherries, they beg their mother to tell them the story of Peter Duke, a famous actor with whom she shared both a stage and a romance years before at a theater company called Tom Lake. As Laura recalls the past, her daughters examine their own lives and relationship with their mother and are forced to reconsider the world and everything they thought they knew. I am not an audiobook girl. I've never actually listened to one, but I will say this. The audiobook for Tom Lake is narrated by Meryl Streep, and I've heard it's an incredible audiobook. So if you wanted to grab that, you could do that too. Next up, I grabbed After the Shut Up Ring by Kate C. Wells. Okay, so apparently it's about a shut-up ring, which is a marriage proposal meant to get you off his back, intended to last indefinitely. I waited 8 years to marry the father of my children. I worked for our relationship. I was patient. I forgave. The thoughtless remarks, the disappointments, the test results when I was expecting our youngest that proved he hadn't been working late. Then when we finally made it to the altar, he looked deep into my eyes, smiled, and cracked a fat joke. That wasn't the worst of it. His vows weren't a promise to love. They were a final test of exactly what I'd do to get his ring on my finger, what I'd take in front of our family, friends, and their cell phones. Was I going to be internet famous? Another sad bride who must have known the kind of man she was marrying? My 2 little girls stared up at me with big round eyes. Was I really going to laugh it off like I always did? In that moment, my house of cards came crashing down. When the moment was over, for some reason, my best friend's older brother was on his feet with his chair knocked over like he was about to punch someone. This is the story of what happens next. Sounds so good. I also grabbed 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This is Stephen King's reimagining of what happens if someone was sent back into the past to stop the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and I've heard it's one of his masteries of his work. Next, I picked up The Whalebone Theater by Joanna Quinn. This was a recommendation from my friend Rachel, who read this book and absolutely loved it, and I more than trust her recommendation. It says that this is a transporting, irresistible debut novel that takes its heroine, Christabel Seagrave, from the gargantuan cavity of a beached whale into undercover operations during World War II, a story of love, bravery, lost innocence, and self-transformation. It says, one blustery night in 1928, a whale washes up on the shores of the English Channel. By law, it belongs to the king, but 12-year-old orphan Christabel Seagrave has other plans. She and the rest of the household, her sister Flossie, her brother Digby, long-awaited heir to Chilcombe Manor, Maudie Kit Kat, kitchen maid, terrorist visiting artist, build a theater from the beast's skeletal ribcage. Within the Whalebone Theater, Christabel can escape her feckless step-parents and brisk governesses, and her imagination comes to life. As Christabel grows into a headstrong young woman, World War II rears its head. She and Digby become British secret agents on separate missions in Nazi-occupied France. A more dangerous kind of play acting, it turns out, and one that threatens to tear the family apart. If Rachel says it's good, I'm gonna read it. Next up, I grabbed The Nightingale, The Great Alone, and Night Road by Kristen Hanna. They all went on sale for under $3 each, and she is an author I've wanted to get into. I also own The Women. It's right behind me. So I don't really know which one I'm going to pick up first, but if you could drop a comment below if you've read these books and tell me which is the Kristen Hanna book I should go into first. Where do I start? Next, I picked up Summer at the Saint by Mary Kay Andrews. I have never read a Mary Kay Andrews book, but there is something about her covers that just scream summertime. Like, I feel about her the same way I feel about Ellen Hildebrand, where I don't know if there's any other season that you could read her books. Like, look at this cover. What, are you going to read this in December? I don't think so. So this book is about St. Cecilia, a landmark hotel on the coast of Georgia where traditions run deep and scandals run even deeper. So I think this is another rich people drama at a country club. I picked up Talking at Night by Claire Daverly. This is a book that randomly popped up in a very random review on Instagram, and the girl that I saw reading it, I can't remember her name, or I would have linked her below. This was months and months and months ago, but she just raved about how much she loved this book, and she was just so sucked into it. And I don't know what it's about at all. I have no clue, but it says, Will and Rosie meet as teenagers. They're opposites in every way. She overthinks everything. He is her twin brother's wild and unpredictable friend. But over secret walks home and late night phone calls, they become closer, destined to be one another's great love story, until one day tragedy strikes and their future together is shattered. But as the years roll on, Will and Rosie can't help but find their way back to each other. Time and time again, they come close to rekindling what might have been. What do you do when the one person you should forget is the one you just can't let go? And last, but definitely not least, I picked up Reawakened by Colleen Hooke. This is the same author as the Tiger's Curse series. I believe this came out first. I'm not sure, but sorry guys, my allergies are driving me insane. I keep like touching my nose, but my allergies are just, I have the itchiest face right now. My eyes are watering, and it's definitely time for me to go get in bed. But like I said, this is an epic Egyptian-inspired adventure about two star-crossed teens who must battle mythical forces and ancient curses on a journey with more twists and turns than the Nile itself. When 17-year-old Liliana Young enters the Metropolitan Museum of Art one morning during spring break, the last thing she expects to find is a live Egyptian prince with godlike powers who has been reawakened after 1,000 years of mummification, and she really can't imagine being chosen to aid him in an epic quest that will lead across the globe. But fate has taken hold of Lily, and she, along with her son Prince Aemon, must travel to the Valley of the Kings, raise his brothers, and stop an evil shape-shifting god named Seth from taking over the world. I believe there are quite a few books in this series. Oh, 3, so not that much, but it's a trilogy. I believe it's completed, and it sounds excellent. So over 300 books and like 4 hours later, that is it, guys. Those are all the books that I've grabbed either physically in special edition books boxes or on my Kindle over the last several months. If you have made it this entire way, I think it's only appropriate that you comment the hourglass emoji for all the time that we have been sitting here talking about books, and then comment below the 2 books in this haul that you think sound the most intriguing. After you're done doing that, do all the things that you are so professional at doing, like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye guys.